everybody, it's Jamie.
Hi, and Gemma.
From Play to Learn Preschool. Happy Friday. We are so excited because this is our last full week of school for quite a while. Next week we're headed to California.
Thank you for your suggestions.
Yes.
We're trying to work out exactly how we're going to do that.
Everybody said to hang out on the west side. Is that what they were saying?
Remember.
I'm near the beaches.
I'm not very good with geography.
But we're not sure we want to go right there with our suitcases. So I'm trying to figure that all out, but we appreciate all the suggestions. If you're also going to be at NACE, leave us a comment. We would love to meet up with you, maybe have lunch one day or something. So
well, that'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Today we're going to share with you some ideas that we use to spice up our story time. Now, my background is as a reading teacher, and when we learn to teach reading, we learn that we need to do things before, during, and after reading a story to really help the students comprehend what we're saying. It's not enough for them just to sit quietly and listen while we read the story. We have to engage their minds so they're thinking about what we're reading and talking about it. And so we're going to give you some examples of some different ideas that we use. An example that we use before reading, an example that we use during reading,
and one after.
And an after reading example. I would not use 3 different strategies with the same book. But we always try to pick one little thing that we can do to help the students understand or to retell the story. Does that make sense?
Retelling stories.
They do like to retell the stories. Mm-hmm. So the first one is an example of what we did when we read a story before we read it to help the students start to make predictions and think about, oh, I got the wrong book in the picture. And think about what's going to happen in the story. So this is one of our favorites from the Spider unit. It's Eric Carle's The Very Busy Spider. Before I read this story to the students, I presented them with some objects to try to get them to think about what was going to happen. So I had this gigantic plastic spider from the dollar store.
It's really creepy.
Creepy, it's hairy or fuzzy.
It's really creepy and big, and I would not rescue one that big.
Gemma wouldn't.
That would be not.
That doesn't even fit in a cup.
That does not. I would not be rescuing that. I don't know how people in Australia cope with those really big ones.
We'd have to call an exterminator for this one.
Know.
This is not a friendly little catch and release kind of spider.
Okay.
And so I pulled it out and we talked about spiders, where they live, and why they build webs, which of course is what we've been doing with the unit the whole time. And I said the spider in this story is going to meet some different characters. Let me show you who those characters are. And so I took the pieces, we have like this Melissa and Doug chunky puzzle. And so we pulled some of the pieces out of the farm set and the pet set and just kind of showed them. So one of the animals that the spider's going to meet in the story is a horse. What sound does a horse make?
Really?
Yes. No, you don't have to, but that's what I said to the kids. And then the
you
spider.
You don't want me to do that.
You can. Do you want to move?
No, not really. It's almost the same as singing. No.
And then I said the next character that they're going to meet is the cow. Where do you think the spider is making his web? If there's a horse and a cow, and they might say, "Oh, I bet it's at a farm." I said, "Yeah." So what other animals do you think that the spider will see at the farm? And then they just brainstorm. There might be a sheep. There might be a pig. And I just pulled out all of the.
Here, I'll look at
thank you. I just pulled upside down rooster. It's really a hen, but I told them to pretend like it was a rooster.
We don't have a rooster.
There's no rooster.
There's no rooster puzzle piece.
And there was no owl either. Anyway, and so we just pulled all these out to show the students, to get them to start thinking about what they're going to see when the spider's at the farm building her web. And if it works for the number of students, you could even give each student a piece to hold. And then as we read the story, you know, this is the story about the spider who starts spinning her web on a fence post in a farmyard. And the horse comes up and says, "Nay, nay, want to go for a ride?" But the spider didn't answer. She was very busy spinning her web. And so the student who's holding the horse then might come up and put it down so we can sequence the farm animals. And we do that with each page. And
if you don't have any farm animal puzzles, you can use the Little People. Also have a lot of animals that you could use. They probably, I think they probably, oh, they have a rooster. I think they have a rooster. Probably no owl.
Yes, they also sell those, I don't think there's an owl. They also sell those tubes of animals you can get at the craft store, the toy store. You could print pictures of the farm animals, anything to kind of get them thinking before you start reading about the plot, the setting of the story, and then they can also use it as a sequencing activity. So this is one way that we like to foster comprehension with our students during story time with one of my favorite books, The Very Busy Spider.
And then we'll leave it out for them afterwards, and then they can practice telling the story to their friends. We told you before how much they love being the teacher.
They like to imitate us. It's great. Okay, so that's one idea. And then the second idea is actually a story that I read to our younger kids today. It's one of our favorite Halloween books. And I'm sure you're familiar with this one. It's The Little Old Lady Who Wasn't Afraid of Anything. And in this story, the little old lady is walking down the path, and in front of her jump up different articles of clothing. And so I usually don't, that's pretty much what I say to the students before I read it to them. And the comprehension strategy that we use while we're reading is like this. So, of course, she's walking down the path and the shoes jump in front of her and she says, "Get out of my way, you two big shoes. I'm not afraid of you." But the shoes, behind her she could hear two shoes, and then we give them to a student or two students and they go clomp, clomp. And then of course up jumps a little old lady, runs into a pair of pants, and the pants go wiggle, wiggle. So we're passing these articles of clothing out to the students, and they get to act it out every time we read that part. Two shoes go, and the kids go clomp, clomp. One pair of pants goes wiggle, wiggle. And then as we're reading, we're pulling these objects out of the bag. Up jumps a shirt, and the shirt goes shake, shake. It's almost like you've read this story before.
I've read this book so many times.
And there's two white gloves, and the gloves go clap, 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 clap. Oh, and a tall black hat. I skipped
Hold
that
on,
one.
no, they're on the same page.
I know.
Gloves and the hat.
And the hat goes nod, 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 nod. And then, of course, at the end, she runs into a very large, very orange, very scary pumpkin head, and the head goes boo, boo. And so the kids are holding these articles of clothing, and you might have to read it twice and let everybody take turns. But as we're reading those parts of the story, they're acting it out with us. They are participating in the story with their bodies. And so do you want to guess what the participation rate was here?
It was 100%.
100%.
And that's for our 3-year-old class.
Yes. So anytime you can give them something to hold, something to do, some refrain to repeat with you, they're going to be engaged, they're going to be thinking about the story, and their comprehension of the story is going to be a lot higher than it would be if you just sat and read the story to them. So always look for ways that you can incorporate props or sequencing or anything like that so that your students are really engaged in comprehending what you're saying to them.
I love this one.
I do like that one too.
Yeah.
All right, and then the third idea that we have,
Move my two big
let's move our two big shoes, clomp, clomp, is an idea to extend the learning after you read a story. So this is a really cute little story about a little ghost named Ben who cannot say boo. He can say hoo like an owl and
I can't remember all the
moo like a cow.
It's really
It's a really cute little story about this little ghost, and he doesn't know how to say boo. He says coo, coo like a dove, I think. He has all these different things, but he can't say boo. And then, of course, at the end of the story, he's so sad because he can't say the word boo that he goes off and cries. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo. And all of a sudden they realize,
You're saying boo.
Ben, you did it. You learned how to say boo. So it's a really sweet, not scary story. And after we read it to the students, we like to make ghost puppets. This is a high production. This is like a this is a free, for anybody who always says that everything I put up is too expensive, go ahead and say this. It's a tissue with a piece of tape that we tape to their fingers like a little ghost. And then we teach them this poem that says, I saw a little ghost. He saw me too. I said hi. He said boo. And so then the kids can each have a little ghost finger puppet made out of a tissue.
Yep.
And then when they're done, we just slide it off and they can take their
Take it
ghost
home.
finger puppet
You
home.
may go through a few because they get a bit excited and they push their
Or
finger all the
they
way
lick
through.
it and it gets wet.
Yeah, that's the gross part. Or it rips. But they're tissues, so you
They're
can make
tissues.
as many as you want.
Look, free.
Yeah, look.
So that's a fun way to follow up reading a story. And then they're comprehending it, of course, too, because they think, oh, Ben, the little ghost, couldn't say boo, but, this little ghost on my finger can. So it's just a fun way to really think about when you're reading to young children, how are they involved? Because sitting and listening or sitting and thinking about it isn't really the way that they're built. They're built to learn with their bodies, with their senses, with their voices. And so we always try, not 100% of the time.
No.
Sometimes we just read a story.
Sometimes they need to be able to just sit and listen to the story.
Yes, but we do try, for the most part, to incorporate some comprehension strategy. If it's a prediction strategy before we read to them, if it's an action strategy during the reading where they can participate with the refrain or with the props like the clothes, the little old lady, or if it's some way that we can follow up with an activity afterwards so that they can continue to think about the story. So those are our suggestions today. Before, during, and after comprehension strategies with preschoolers.
Yep. And they will say that they will do these so many times afterwards.
You're going to be like, enough with the ghost.
And yes, and do I really need to listen to the little old lady who was afraid of anything? I hear it in my sleep, I think, now,
Yes.
after this week.
So those are ideas for you. It's quitting time. It's
Yay.
5 o'clock. Oh no, it's 12:30.
Yeah.
So we're finished for the week. We will catch back up with you on Monday next week. Hope you have a wonderful afternoon playing and learning with your kiddos.
Bye. Have
Bye.
a great weekend.